Good morning, beautiful people. It's been a while since we did a recipe video, so we're going to show you guys how we make our garlic infused fermented honey. This is one huge immune booster that we use here on the homestead, but I had to run down and make sure I got myself some garlic that we got at a garden somewhere around 4 weeks ago. Now, before we get this video started, I want to stress the fact that it's most important to make sure that you use all natural raw ingredients when it comes to this recipe, which is why we are using our Italian garlic versus store-bought garlic. We're also going to use raw unfiltered honey. We're going to go ahead and show you guys the trick to this. There's only 2 ingredients, maybe 3. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get you started on this. Just remember that you always want to use raw unfiltered honey and the best garlic you can get your hands on. All right, y'all, let's go get this started. Okay, so let me start by saying that, again, this garlic here just came out from under the house in our drying rack. It's cool and dry under there, as you can tell. These garlic layers are not flaky like you get from the store. They're still fresh, and they peel a whole lot different than the garlic you get from the store. So I'm going to say what I'm throwing in here is some of our regular Italian garlic. I'm also going to use some elephant garlic. We're going to chunk maybe 1 or 2 cloves in there as we do this. And here I'm just going to show you that we have a clean, sterile jar. If you have to sterilize in your oven or with boiling water, however you want to do it, just make sure your jar is really sterile. Now, the trick to what we're doing here is we are looking for something that garlic makes when it gets wounded or cut or anything like that, and it's called Allicin. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw that word up on the screen. Now, Allicin is that chemical that we're wanting to extract from the garlic as much as we possibly can, because that's actually the anti-inflammatory, the immune booster, and all the other great medical qualities that garlic has is produced in that compound. And I like to crush and scar up as much of these heads as I can before I put them into the jar, because like I said before, the garlic that we're using, even though it's perfectly fine, it's been cured, it's not over dry like what you get from the grocery store, and this stuff has tons more of it than what you would get from those over dried squishy heads that you get from the grocery store, which will work, but you won't get as good of medical effects as you would with this garlic fresh from the garden. Now, here's our third kind of garlic, and this is our Italian red. And as you can see, once you get the skin off these things, they're the exact same color as regular garlic. However, they do look pretty cool when they're growing, and the flavor is quite different. So I'm just showing you that you can use pretty much any kind of garlic. We use 3 different types here, and it works really great, and it tastes great when it's done also. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up my mess, as you guys know, before the warden comes in, and she makes me start cleaning up beforehand. This is how much garlic we got, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take our scraps, toss them in the trash, and the next step we're going to use is raw unfiltered honey. Now, this step is pretty easy. All you're going to do is just make sure that you have somewhere around 2.5, 3 inches of honey above the top of your cloves. Now, your cloves are going to float, and that's normal, but right off at the first they won't float, and you're able to see how much honey you're going to have over your cloves. But like I said before, they will float until they start the fermenting process, and they will continue to do so for about 20 days. That's all you're going to have to do for now. The next thing we want to do is make sure that we get all those cloves off the bottom, and make sure everything is completely covered in honey. And we'll do this again about every 2 or 3 days, and that's pretty much it for the process. Now, I do want to say there might be a third ingredient. Once in a while we'll add apple cider vinegar. That way we can keep our pH below 4.6 and avoid any botulism or anything of that nature. Don't forget, every couple of days you want to go into your kitchen or wherever you have this at, and you make sure you chew up in this up just like that, just for a few seconds. It's called burping it. You want to let all the air pressure out, because if you don't, if you leave it too long, you could have an explosive jar of honey on your hands. Just don't forget, about every 2 or 3 days be fine. Okay guys, here we are around 15 days later, and as you can tell, there's bubbles on top. This stuff is way more liquid or runny than it was when we first started. Those bubbles mean that we are in the fermenting process, and it's very normal. And every time you burp it, you want to take a wooden spoon or maybe even silicone or something and just give it a good stir. And as you can see, it's a lot. The consistency has definitely changed. Some of those cloves you can see fell to the bottom. We still have some floating, and when they all go to the bottom around 20-25 days, we've completed the fermenting process, and we will no longer have to burp it, and we can start using it as our medicine and immune booster. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and we will definitely update you somewhere around the 20 or 25 day mark.